Welcome back to the program. Joining me now is National Senator Ross Cadell and former Labor Minister Darren Barnett. Gentlemen, geniuses as well.
Minister, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, not quite.
I wasn't in Parliament.
Not quite. I do apologise for that one. But Darren, we've given you a
Can I have the old parliamentary
tonight.
pension, not the new one?
Well, no, exactly.
That's
that's exactly what. That's why we gave you that title tonight. So I appreciate that. Do apologise. Look, we've got to start with Donald Trump's address here. I went through my points about this before, Darren. Curious to get yours. What did you take away from it?
Well, all I got to say is that as underwhelming as our Prime Minister's speech might have been, looked like the Gettysburg Address against Donald Trump. So, look, Trump, I can't figure out what he's trying to achieve in general. I can't figure out what he's trying to achieve with Iran. He's trying to play domestic audiences. Obviously, he's got midterms and he's got, some polling dramas. But for us on the other side of the world, what he said, he has still got the most important job in the world. And everything follows. Markets follow. Goodwill follows. Our political responses are a direct result of what the president tells us, and I'm just not clear on what the next little period of time looks like, and that makes it hard. That your previous guest talking about the availability of diesel in Western Australia, no one's got any certainty from sort of Easter onwards. Will we have petrol? Will it be is it going to be a 2-week war, a 4-week war?
Well, he seems to think it's going to wrap up in the next couple of weeks. Does that give you any?
But I don't know how he does that and then saves face, and then there's a whole bunch of things that are consequential to him pulling out. It's unclear how that's going to be done. So I just don't think he added certainty. And at the moment, we all need some certainty and some leadership and some clarity. And I didn't feel like I got it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of leadership, and we're going to get into Albo in a minute. I'm curious on your thoughts. But Ross, I thought if you read between the lines of that speech, he virtually hit out at allies, basically saying, well, go fend for yourselves in the Strait of Hormuz. The US doesn't need the Strait for its own oil. The Prime Minister today called for de-escalation, one of Labor's favourite lines, de-escalation. But how would you rate the Prime Minister's handling of Iran in a time where we are being relied upon by our allies?
Well, this is what we're talking about here is not the crisis. It was nothing, it was fine, and suddenly we're all blowing up. Clearly, we don't have the force projection to be able to send anything over there of meaningful things to protect the Strait. We sent a wedge-tail, sent a few staff, and I'm supportive of that. But what could Australia do in this situation to assist this? And the answer is not a lot because we've cut our defence forces, cut our capability so long. So the answer is, we've made ourselves dependent upon those places that can't be relied upon, exactly as Tony said from Western Australia. This is a long time in the making. It is 20 years in the making. We're finally here, and we're seeing what a soy boy of the OECD we are. We are a joke. We are a nation where our future sits right under our feet, where our prosperity sits under our feet, and we're too scared to take it. So when Donald says, come and get it, we can't do that because we can't even get the stuff that's under our feet.
No, I mean, as I said, we're sitting on an abundance of resources right now. And Darren, just on that point, because Australia will join 35 nations overnight to discuss solutions to the Strait of Hormuz. But based on what Donald Trump said today, I mean, reading between the lines, it was as if to say, fend for yourselves. Have we been given the flick? Well, how do you read this?
Well, I think NATO's been given the flick more than we've been given the flick. And that does lead to some concerns. AUKUS, the three main players, or the three players being the British, ourselves and the US. But if I was in Europe, and whether I was in Britain or mainland Europe, they're the ones who were the real target. That basically he's saying fend for yourselves, and that's a pretty distinct change from obviously World War II and beyond. It's been a very tight operation. So, look, we are, in a way, we're collateral damage. We're on the other side of the world. We're not expected to be playing a central role, but we do need to keep an eye on what our two closest allies, being Britain and the US, what they're up to. Is Britain going to have to pivot back to mainland Europe and be a much bigger part of NATO than they were recently or historically? We don't know. So once again, it goes back to that question of certainty. But I don't think we're not main players in all of this, but Europe certainly is.
Well, look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, certainly Donald Trump hasn't been shy about his feelings towards his allies. That's for sure.
He hasn't been shy about it the whole time he's been president, to be fair.
No, he hasn't. I mean, he's certainly been hitting out at Keir Starmer in particular. Look, we've got to talk about Anthony Albanese's address to the nation where, he told us everything but nothing, 3 minutes of our lives that we'll never get back. We did hear from the opposition leader tonight, Angus Taylor. He delivered his own address. Have a look at this.
Initially, the government denied there was a crisis. Then, after admitting there was a problem, it failed to act with urgency. The only thing the government has fuelled is confusion. Urgent action is needed to protect our way of life and to restore our standard of living, and that requires leadership.
Ross, a lot of speeches here and there, the Prime Minister, Angus Taylor. What is your take on what's happened? I mean, between the Prime Minister last night, but do you think that Angus Taylor lived up to the expectations?
It's really hard to do it because people are tied to words, Danica. I think that we need actions, and we can go do all the speeches we want. I think clearly there were some key points there that Angus said and is right about our future and what we need to do. But to me, Albo's was a massive I'm out of office till Tuesday speech. Yes, there's a problem. Don't blame me. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Didn't cut it with the public, and it shouldn't cut it with the public. This, we need answers. And I go back to this. This is not necessarily a problem of the Labor Party by itself. Ever since the Greens have had the balance of power in the Senate, this is what we do. We kowtow to them, we make ourselves weaker. This week, we just guillotined 22 bills so they could have a select inquiry into the gas industry and try and get their gas tax up. We are making Australia weaker while we're going through this damn thing. And words don't cut it anymore. We need someone in power who's going to get in and do that. Do what Matt says, do what Angus says, drill, baby, drill. Make Australia safe in our own world. And until we see that action, it just doesn't matter anymore.
I completely agree with you. Otherwise, the next crisis, we're still going to be sitting on our hands wondering what on earth we have to do. Darren, did the Prime Minister squander his big moment last night?
Well, I think what he was trying to do was reassure Australians not to panic and that this thing will take an amount of time to fix. We're not quite sure how long that will be.
So you thought the speech was reasonable?
Look, my question would be more, what was the benefit of the timing of the speech? I thought the content of the speech was fine, but I'm not sure why it was last night rather than a week ago or rather than after Easter. There was not really a central point to it that made me think, I have to know about this right now. It wasn't a right now speech. It was a stump speech of sorts.
But he gave us 8 hours warning, and we're all sitting on the edge of our seats going, oh, gosh, it must be... it's very rare to have a national address, isn't it? And then we're all waiting for it. And
we haven't seen that many of them.
Is that it?
Rudd did a couple in the GFC. Presumably Scott Morrison did some in COVID. I don't remember them specifically, but they are a rare occurrence, so people do pay attention. That's true. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. We waited 8 hours and we got 3 minutes and 17 seconds of our lives that I'm not sure any of us are ever going to get back, that's for sure. But my favourite today was the Prime Minister at the National Press Club blaming misinformation and conspiracy theories for the reason why he gave that speech last night. Extraordinary. Just to your point, Ross, there's a new poll out. Australians back investing domestic fuel production and refining capacity over cutting the fuel excise as a way to tackle this. Have a look at this polling from Freshwater Strategy. It found that a majority, so 59% of voters, are dissatisfied with the government's fuel crisis response, but evenly split 33 to 30% on the conflict itself. But the most popular way to cut fuel prices was investing in domestic fuel production and refining, which was backed by 46% of those polled. So still not over the line, but still 46%. Ross, as you said, it's time to drill, baby, drill, is it not?
It absolutely is. And we were looking at some polling, I'll tell you, from the inside the room we were talking about earlier this week. 40% of Greens voters want us to go out and drill more. That's an amazing stat. I can't believe that one. But, yeah, look, this is why we're seeing this change right around the world. It's no good to have these great feelings and everything like that. And, Darren, I'm sure you would have written a better speech if you're still in the office than what came out last night. But we just have to do it. It's okay. These polls say this is what people want. This is what they expect. They've wanted it for a long time. I came on last week and I spoke about we're running out of the urea to make the glue that holds particle board together for kitchens and other in constructions. Well, Labor's found a way to fix it. We won't run out of that. We've run out of polypipe before that. So a plumber mate, Joey and Kathy down in Sydney, they were telling me that they can't get polypipe to put the plumbing under slabs anymore. So instead of 10 slabs a week, they're doing 2. We just need to get this fixed. It's a rubbish situation. So, the polling says exactly what we know. Stop talking, do something.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. And just on this, motorists could see petrol prices fall by about another 6 cents a litre after the premiers and chief ministers agreed to a change to the GST on unleaded and diesel. Darren, is this not just another Band-Aid solution? We're talking about drill, baby, drill.
100% is a Band-Aid solution, but that's politics. That's trying to calm the nerves of people before Easter. It's trying to just keep a lid on tensions and people thinking they need jerry cans and to fill up and keep it in their garage. We've got to try and keep a lid on that because we just don't know how long this conflict's going to go. I sincerely hope it's over in the next couple of weeks, but it will then take some months for things to recover to normal.
Do you support drill, baby, drill?
As Ross and I discussed last week on the show, I did a lot of work for the unions probably about a decade ago into PRRT change and fuel security, that we looked at all of this. At that time, it was about $8 billion a year. About $8 billion to get refineries up to spec. It's now 3 times that amount.
Yeah.
So public sentiment is on the side of that, but the start-up cost for us to refine here on large scale is very large. We probably need to use the resources that we have. So that's LNG, and if we use that more broadly in Australia, and also some security about the vessels that go to and from the mega refineries to ensure that we keep supply when there are threats such as the one that we're in now.
Yeah, well, look, something has to happen, right? As we've been saying, we are sitting on the answer. The answer is in our face.
Energy security.
Well, exactly. We shouldn't have to be relying on anyone else. So, I mean, surely this is the wake-up call we need. The Prime Minister today announced major gambling advertisement reforms. I mean, I'm personally questioning the timing of this in the middle of a crisis. Don't know why this was a priority. But anyway, under the changes, gambling ads would be partially restricted on television and radio with opt-out rules for online promotions, and ads will be banned in stadiums and on jerseys and jumpers. Now, Ross, look, I think I'm not opposed to, say, gambling in general, because in the end people need to take their own personal responsibility. I understand the harm that comes with advertising, so I'm not necessarily opposed to this. But my question is, why now? Who is talking about gambling reform in the middle of a crisis?
Well, it's taken almost 3 years to get to this point since the Murphy report was handed down. So normally these things are responded to in 3 months or 6 months. This has been 3 years. So you're exactly right on the timing being a bit weird on this. And it's got something that everyone hates. The anti-gambling people are out there hating it already. We've got some real problems with it. I'm a bit personally torn. My first job was with Mum and Dad's TAB, and I've been the sponsorship manager of the mighty Newcastle Knights, so they're going to hurt on those jerseys a little bit there. But there is people gambling harm. The devil will be in the detail of this. He's outlined it and said we'll know more in the response in a few days' time. But it was get it out the door. Imagine waiting 3 years for something so quickly to get it out in the middle of a crisis. It's a bit iffy. We'll see what happens, but the devil will be the detail. Will our sporting codes be able to get it? Will our TV stations, our journalism is such under threat because of new media. Will they be able to bear this cuts? Because you've got to look at the consequences of this. Might help some people, and I get that. I want to help them too, but let's see what happens.
No, look, I agree. The devil's going to be the detail, but of course it was dropped in the middle of a crisis and the day before a public holiday, long weekend. Darren, good or bad policy?
I think they needed to get it out the door, and they've chosen, the least worst time to do it. So,
well, I mean, it's not the best time, is it?
No, but in terms of, if you look at my old job as being a press secretary, you try and make the most of the good ones and, try and minimise the bad ones. This was never going to be a good story. So you put it out on a day like today.
It's typical PR, isn't it? This is 100%. Politics and PR 101. 100%. Slip it in. They normally do it on a Friday at 4 p.m.
That's because Friday's a holiday. It would have been tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. They would have quietly popped this one out tomorrow and hope that it overrides everything else going on. And now I've got to ask you both, you ever been to a drive-in?
When I was a kid.
When you were a kid, yeah. Well, the infamous drive-in is made famous by the movie Grease. Have a look.
Sandy! Oh, Sandy. What's he doing? Oh, Sandy, don't worry about it. Nobody's watching.
Yes, summer lovin' at the drive-in. Well, guess what? They're in decline. Australia once enjoyed the third highest number of drive-in cinemas in the world, behind only the US and Canada. At their peak in the late 70s, there were 330 operating nationwide. Today, the number's in single digits. In the Ipswich suburb of Chua, the Tivoli Drive-In Movie Theatre was one of the latest to close on Friday, the 27th of Feb. Ross, were you a fan of the drive-ins?
In fact, there was a drive-in at Head and Greeter just down the road from our farm. It was maybe a kilometre away. And they had the best advertising slogan I've ever heard. If you don't like the movie, you can slash your seats. And that was a great little place. It's still going up there. I think encroachment of homes, we'll get to it sooner or later. But look, yes, the drive-ins were somewhere, as I said, just a kilometre from the farm. We could see what was going on there. We couldn't hear it all the time. But yes, more than once, some great experiences.
Yeah, what a shame. I feel, Darren, like social media, scrolling, it's all just overtaken.
I think the land is worth too much now. It's a bit like caravan parks. We don't have as many as we used to, particularly near the seashore, and world's changed. It's unfortunate, but the land's worth too much money.
Life goes